Hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the new 2019 animated reboot of The Addams Family. This is a reboot of The Addams Family. It's not a continuation of those earlier films from 1990 from Barry Sonnenfeld. Um, I really like those earlier Addams Family films. Addams Family and Addams Family Values is what they were called, I believe, from 91 and 93, I think that's when they came out. Um, so I was really anticipating this film. You know, I like the Addams Family. I watched the Addams Family cartoon show when I was younger too, and I occasionally watched the old black and white TV show from way, way back in the day from some reruns on TV that I saw a while ago. So you know, I'm a relatively, I would say I'm a huge Addams Family person, but I really admire these characters and kind of the source material from over the years. I really like what Charles Addams did with these stories and things like that. Um, and like I said, I did really like those two earlier films from Barry Sonnenfeld from the 90s. So I was anticipating this film, and let's talk about it, and I'll let you know what I think about it after the synopsis. So this film, for the most part, you guys, it's about the Addams family trying to live in this neighborhood where a lot of real estate things are going on. This lady who is trying to kind of make people buy all these houses in this neighborhood really wants the Addams out of it. They think she believes that the house that they live in kind of scares people away, kind of scares away business, scares away advertising for whenever they're trying to advertise in the town and things like that. So this real estate lady, played by Allison Janey, or at least voiced by her anyway, is trying to find ways to kind of scare the Addams out of the neighborhood, trying to make them either basically redo the whole house or move out completely out of the neighborhood. And so she's trying to get other people in the neighborhood to join her via social media and kind of kick the Addams out for good, try to find ways for the neighbors to be weirded out by the Addams and just kind of push them out of the neighborhood once and for all. And throughout the course of this Addams Family movie, the Addams are trying to find ways to stay in the neighborhood, be accepted amongst the community, and not have to follow the ways of this real estate lady who's basically just trying to sell more houses in the area. So overall, guys, this film was okay. I left the theater of this movie really kind of. I thought about it more and more, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I think I like those two earlier Addams Family movies a lot more. I thought Barry Sonnenfeld made those much more visually interesting. I really like the cast that he got to play those characters in those earlier films. Not to say that they didn't find good talent here. You know, Charlize Theron's a good actress. Oscar Isaac's a good actor. Chloe Grace Moretz is a great actress too, and everything. But I don't know. There's something about this film that didn't have the same charm as those two earlier films did. I thought the two earlier films, the live action ones, had more charm when they brought the Addams to like neighborhoods and social events and really kind of bringing out their weirdness when they're around normal people and things like that. They did it here in this. It just didn't have the same charm this time around. So even though I didn't hate this movie, I thought it was all right. And I just thought it wasn't quite the charming experience that the first two Addams Family films had from the early 90s. But let's talk about some positives and negatives about this movie. So for the most part, I thought this film got the Addams Family atmosphere right. So whenever you're in the house, whenever you're with one of the Addams, whenever you're with one of the Addams when they're out at an event somewhere, they did get the atmosphere right. They got the whole idea of they're a little bit weird. They're not really normal people. They definitely like things that normal people really wouldn't be into and things like that. So I really like the whole atmosphere that they accomplished here, especially when you're inside the house. They definitely had the whole haunted house vibe, kind of welcoming of the haunted, not welcoming of the normal kind of a vibe to this family. So I thought they got that aspect of the Addams done right in this movie. They also try to go over a little bit more of the Addams Family origins, kind of how, you know, why does Lurch work for the family? Why does Thing work for the family? How come these characters that really aren't Addams work for the family or keep getting connected to them? So I like how they kind of briefly go over some origins of the Addams Family, how there's a little bit of a Transylvania kind of vibe to how the whole family started and things like that. So I liked how, even though it's brief, they go over the Addams origins for the most part pretty good. Wednesday Addams and Uncle Fester are definitely kind of the two joys of this movie. If you go to this movie at all, go for the two of them. I think that those two characters kind of have the most fun to work with scenes in this movie. They have the best jokes. They have the best moments. For the story that they have to work with, they kind of have the better parts of the story to work with. So I thought the character of Wednesday and the character of Uncle Fester were really a lot of fun in this movie. And yes, for those wondering, Uncle Fester does have a light bulb in his mouth at one scene in the movie to kind of reference what he would do in the earlier films and make a light bulb sparkle in his mouth when it was in his mouth. So they do have scenes where the Addams are in the real world. And I like those scenes. Like I said, I think they were done better in the earlier Barry Sonnenfeld movies from the 90s. But I thought whenever they're in the real world, interacting with people, kind of showing off kind of how weird they can be, those are probably some of the better scenes in this film involving the entire Addams family. They also kind of briefly explore kind of like about the origins thing. Yes, it's in it, but it's not in it for very long. They do explore more of the Addams relatives here, so like they explore like more than just Uncle Fester. They show the other uncles. They show some of the cousins. They show some of the second and third cousins and things like that too. So they explore more of the actual Addams family. You know, the family side of characters that we don't normally see from the family and things like that. They explore those characters a little bit more. And even though it's very brief, I really couldn't tell you their names, to be honest. But it's kind of cool to see other family members of the Addams that we haven't got to see in the live action films. But for my negatives of this new Addams Family, though, first and foremost, this is a very disposable movie. The second it's done, you'll forget about it. It's one of those very, very disposable movies you'll forget about the second you're done watching it. There's one of those movies where it's not necessarily bad, but at the same time, there's not enough good things in it to really make you, how when you watch like a really good Pixar film or a good animated film, you'll remember like scenes from it and jokes from it and characters from it. It didn't really have that same feeling here. It just kind of felt like, oh, they go on this scenario and you get to see the house, you get to see these characters, and we're done. And so it just kind of had that very disposable, quickly made feeling to it, and it just felt very disposable to me. I also thought the villain of this film was very lame. Allison Janey's character, unfortunately, very good talent, gets a very boring character to work with here. The whole real estate thing I thought was super stupid. I thought they really could have found a much more compelling villain and a more interesting scenario to work with than the whole, oh, we got to scare away the Addams so we can sell more houses in this neighborhood. I thought was a very lame villainous plot in this movie. There's also really no character development here. Besides the background of these characters, I knew about them going into it. Like, I knew about Uncle Fester and all of them. They really don't develop them anymore. They really didn't develop them at all in this movie. Like, they really didn't. Really, most of the stuff I knew about these characters were from either the earlier films or from the cartoon show. They really didn't develop them at all in this movie, unfortunately. I also thought this film kind of lacked a true director's vision. I thought Barry Sonnenfeld had much more of a vision in those movies. He definitely had more of like a dark sense of humor kind of vibe. He knew exactly what to do with the Addams when they're out in the real world. He knew exactly what to do with them when it was focusing on Wednesday or Uncle Fester or Gomez or Morticia. This time around, it just kind of felt like by the numbers, anybody could have thought of it kind of thing. There really needed to be more of a director's vision in this film because it just really felt like it didn't have one in this movie. I also thought the humor in this film was very weak. Normally when I'm at a comedy film, I can tell when the humor is working really well because either the audience is laugh out loud laughing or, you remember certain moments from the movie when you're done watching it. I didn't really get that this time around. I really didn't. It felt like a very dry theater to me. I really felt like nobody was really laughing at anything. So I thought the humor in this film was very much a miss over a hit in this movie. I also thought there was too many subplots. There's a subplot involving, it's not really a spoiler, it's just a direction they take with a character, really. Pugsley is given this family tradition of like the firstborn son doing a sword fight of some kind, and it's a very wasted subplot. By the time they get around to what exactly it's about and what it was trying to prove, it's a very throwaway subplot. So I thought that could have been completely scrapped from the movie for something much more productive for the Pugsley character. This film is also very short, and I think that goes back to the fact that there's really not a lot of character development or any like crucial story things here. I thought maybe instead of ending it at an hour and 28 minutes, maybe expand another 15, 20 minutes, expand the characters, help me learn something about them. What exactly in this film are they going to do with the Addams that they didn't do with the last two Addams Family movies? So there's just so many opportunities here, so many wasted ones. And I thought instead of just ending it early, spend more time with the characters. Let's learn about them. What can we learn more about Uncle Fester? What can we learn more about Gomez? Just do something with them. Don't just put them on the screen and expect something to happen. Do something with them. I also thought overall, by the end of the day, it really probably would have been better for Netflix. I think, especially with all these like Apple TV and things like that. I think this film would have been better off as like a Netflix or a TV movie. There's really nothing about it that's super theatrical. So I don't know. I think this film would have been better off on Netflix, to tell you the truth. And then for my last negative point, I thought this film really wasn't very original. I thought pretty much everything they did here was stuff they did in the earlier Addams Family films, but not as much with as much flair this time around. I thought the whole new kid in school thing with Wednesday was very throwaway. Felt like it's been done thousands of times before, nothing new to it. So I thought they could have done something way more with this movie than what they ended up doing. So overall, I'm going to give Addams Family a 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable and it's fun at times. They get the atmosphere right for the Addams Family. They get a lot of funny things to do for Wednesday and Uncle Fester, and it was cool to see the Addams in the real world again, and get to see more of the relatives that we don't really normally get to see and things like that. But there's just a lot of negatives going against it. I don't think it's going to age as well as those two earlier Addams Family films have. So I would say just rent this one. If you like the Addams Family or Addams Family values from the early 90s, and you want to see a kind of another interpretation of these characters, wouldn't make the worst rental in the entire world. I don't think I can send you out to the theater to see this one, though. So 7 out of 10 for me. The Addams Family 2019 is an okay movie.